Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Let's keep it going with another SEC game. Again, for people just joining us, I keep saying it, but I think it's important to note. Producer Matt, our producer, is on the road. He was actually at the Auburn, Oklahoma game. He is traveling today, so he's not available. So, a couple of the visual elements aren't quite what they are, but let's go ahead and dive into this one because the final score in this game, 24-17, Oklahoma gets the win against Auburn. And I'll say this, great game, physical game. Not the best day for the refs. The SEC had to call them out on Saturday night, and I do wonder if there are going to be some suspensions for the refs coming. First of all, let me say this. Physical game, great game, every single thing that we love about the SEC on Saturdays, it was one of those games. I know Oklahoma's new to the SEC, but tough, physical, nasty. Felt like every possession was do or die, winner, whatever. It was one of the most I think it was maybe the most physical game I've seen all year. I think those are two of the top 5 defenses that I've seen all year. But Oklahoma gets the win 24-17. And unfortunately, in discussing this game, we have to have the honest discussion. One thing about this show, we're not we don't glaze people, we don't whatever. We talk about the real issues that you guys want to talk about and you guys want to discuss. So let's go ahead and get in because I think there is a question coming out of this game. And that question is pretty straightforward. Did the refs give Oklahoma a win? Because I think two things can be true. I think Oklahoma's really good. I actually think they'll probably end up being in the playoff. But I also think the other thing can be true as well. Refs certainly gave them a little bit of home cooking in Oklahoma. Okay, so by now you probably know all the details. But for those who don't, first of all, Oklahoma, early in the game, pass over the middle, kid catches it, fumble, recovery by Auburn, picked up, boom, 7 yard, take it down the field, 7-0 Auburn, or at least 6-0 Auburn, PAT pending. Refs go to the video monitor. Listen, I thought it was a bang play. They decided that he didn't have possession of the ball before he went down, and then you can't really fumble if you don't have possession. So Oklahoma retains possession. That's 7 points off the board for Auburn, okay? By the way, again, I want to apologize. Can't show video of this. A lot of you ask in the comment section, show video so we know what you're talking about. There are rights fees. ESPN would very happily either sue the crap out of me or take this video off of YouTube if I start using video from the game. So I can't use video from the game. But a couple things. One, there's the fumble that was returned for Auburn that's then overruled, not a fumble. Later in the game was the big one, okay? So this was a huge play. Oklahoma, what was it? I think it was about 3-3, I believe, at this point in the game. So Oklahoma, very interesting play. Lines up for, whatever it would have been, I don't know, a third down, something like that. They're not really moving the ball because, again, Auburn's defense is sick. It was 2nd and 22, as a matter of fact, okay? So they line up. All of a sudden, John Mateer drops back. Deep touchdown pass. Isaiah Satania is wide open. Like, nobody's within 50 feet of him, okay? And you're like, oh, okay, touchdown Oklahoma, whatever. They go to video. And within seconds, the referee in the booth, what do they call him? Our rules expert, I think it was not Gene Steratore, whatever. It was one of the rules experts. Whoever is the rules expert for ESPN goes, oh, that shouldn't have been a touchdown. So what ended up happening? Basically, before Oklahoma broke the huddle, their wide receiver, Isaiah Satania, ran to the sidelines as if he was going out of the play, like going off of the field, whatever. I think you probably know, but I'm just setting this up for the fan that maybe didn't see this live, okay? Ran off as if he was running off of the field. Kind of hangs out on the sideline, not really paying attention. Oklahoma breaks the huddle. Oklahoma throws the ball to him wide open, deep in the end zone, okay? And so I bring it up because, like I said, immediately, when the rules expert immediately without hesitation says, yeah, you're not allowed to do that, you know that somebody screwed up. Now, first of all, what made it worse was the referee's explanation didn't even make sense. It was like, oh, well, he stayed, because I think it was Holly Rowe or somebody, whoever's the sideline reporter, asked him about it. And they were like, oh, he stayed within the hash marks, or he stayed within whatever. And it's like, if you watch it, no, he didn't. He was 5 yards off of the sideline. And again, these rules experts, they don't want to make, they're all former refs. They don't want to make the refs look bad. So when they say immediately that shouldn't have been a touchdown, that was actually a point of emphasis all offseason, that's when it's bad. It got especially bad, by the way, after the game, because after the game, the SEC actually did release a statement basically acknowledging, yeah, the refs screwed up. Here is that statement. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, you probably can't read it. Here is what I'll go ahead and read what it says. NCAA Football Rule 9-2 Article 2 is labeled unfair tactics, with paragraph B stating no simulated replacements or substitutions may be used to confuse opponents. No tactic associated with substitutes or the substitution process may be used to confuse opponents. This includes any hideout tactic with or without substitution. Verbatim, exactly what happened. It continues. The officiating crew did not properly interpret the action as a hideout tactic. If properly officiated, the second down should have resulted in a team unsportsmanlike conduct penalty of 15 yards assessed from the previous spot. Appropriate accountability will be applied without additional comment. Appropriate accountability will be applied without additional comment. You know what that means? That means somebody's getting suspended. Somebody was supposed to work a game tomorrow or next Saturday, and they ain't working that game. So when the SEC has to release a statement, it's bad. And again, it was verbatim what they said on the broadcast, is that it was a quote unquote hideout tactic that they ran to the sideline to try to make it look like deception, and that was basically written out of the rules. You cannot do that on the football field. And so it was bad. Oklahoma got 7 points. And then, oh, by the way, what you can also say is this. Late in the game, Auburn was driving. It was a halfback pass. So basically it was Jackson Arnold throws the ball to Eric Singleton. Eric Singleton then throws it up. Eric Singleton's a wide receiver. He throws it to another wide receiver. And literally the Oklahoma player, you can see the screenshots on the on Twitter, grabs the kid by the waist, pulls him down. It's not called. And so listen, we can have a lot of conversations about a lot of different things, but the bottom line is the refs cost Auburn. Did they cost Auburn the game? I don't know. Because at the end of the day, Auburn did actually have a 17-16 lead before Oklahoma scored a touchdown and then got a safety. But what we cannot deny is that if the refs didn't cost them the game, they certainly altered the game, because ultimately Auburn lost by 7, and there was minimum one touchdown that was on the board that even the SEC acknowledges should not have been on the board. And then beyond that, there was another very questionable touchdown that was taken off the board for Auburn. Not to mention, you should have had an automatic first down. You have to settle for a field goal. So I think two things can be true. If you're an Auburn fan, you absolutely should be frustrated. What I would also acknowledge is this, and I thought our Torres on Auburn account did a great job. For those people who are new to the show, an Auburn fan that maybe has not listened much to this show, we do have a team-specific Twitter page, Torres on Auburn for all of your late-breaking Auburn news, Torres on Auburn, okay? And so I thought they brought up a good point on the Torres on Auburn page, and that was that, listen, as bad as it was, there was some self-inflicted stuff for the Auburn Tigers. First of all, they gave up 10 sacks to Jackson Arnold. Jackson Arnold certainly didn't have his best day in his return to Norman, Oklahoma, and had 13 penalties overall, okay? And so you have 13 penalties, you give up 10 sacks, gets kind of ugly. Same time, let me also say this. I do think if you're an Auburn fan, you have absolutely every right to be frustrated. I came away impressed by both teams, and I actually think Oklahoma, I don't know if they're the best team because in the SEC because Georgia's really good, but Oklahoma's in the short conversation. First of all, let me say this. I know the refs were sketchy. I have to acknowledge Oklahoma has the best defense that I've seen in college football. Now, that's not totally surprising. Venables is a defensive guy, and this is stuff we talked about all offseason. By the way, when we were at Circa Sportsbook in the summertime in Vegas, we did our over-under win total picks, and I had Oklahoma, I think it was 7.5 was the number that I got it at. And I'm like, look, the defense was elite last year. All you needed was a little bit of an uptick on offense, and you're going to be really, really, really good. And so they've gotten the uptick on offense. And by default, the defense gets better when they're not always on the field, when they're not always in short field situations. It always, you're going to be in better situations by default. But that defense, man, I will tell you, it's as good of a defense as I've seen in college football this year. Now, again, I understand that Jackson Arnold held on to the ball a little bit too long. I get all that, but just filthy. I mean, R. Mason Thomas was suspended for the first half of the game and still managed two of the most filthy. There was one sack. It looked like it was out of a video game. It looked like it was Lawrence Taylor in Tecmo Super Bowl. Okay, I mean, it was unbelievable. LT, old school stuff. You look across the board, Jaden Jackson with 2.5 sacks and 2.5 TFLs. R. Mason Thomas, as I said, 2 sacks and 2 TFLs. That defense is unbelievable. I think Oklahoma right now, listen, it's early. You don't want to put the cart before the horse in any of this, but I have seen that John Mateer is basically the Heisman favorite at Circus Sportsbook at this point, but they're 4-0. And you look at the schedule. I know that they go into a bye and then they play Kent State. And after that, it's 7 straight SEC games. 6 of those teams are ranked at this point. I'll be real. I think they're in great position to make the college football playoff. Now, you never want to say never. And you do look at the schedule, and it is not easy, right? You do have at Tennessee, you do have at Alabama. But LSU at home, that LSU offense hasn't figured things out yet, and Oklahoma's defense is insane. South Carolina's struggling. Missouri, I'm sorry, I don't think they're better than Oklahoma. And I'll say this, they play Texas in 3 weeks? They're better than Texas right now. Not saying that by then, who knows? John Mateer's a better quarterback than Arch Manning. That defense is actually better at Oklahoma. So if you're Oklahoma, I think you got to feel really good about where you are. Conversely, if you're Auburn, let me also say this. I know it's an unpopular opinion. I think they're really good. And listen, again, does Jackson Arnold need to be better? Yes. Does he need to have better pocket presence? I'd say so. The counter to that is that, again, you were a bad referee's call away from basically being tied against Oklahoma on the road in this game. And when I look at Auburn, a couple things. One, that defense is as good as anybody, including Oklahoma in college football. If Oklahoma's one, that's probably 1A in terms of the best defenses that I have seen in college football this year. You look at that team, you look at what they're capable of doing, and they're just absolutely phenomenal, okay? And I think beyond that, what we also have to acknowledge, Hugh Freeze knows what he's doing, right? And we all know what the narrative was this offseason, and everyone's joking about Hugh Freeze, and everybody's talking about he plays too much golf, and everybody's checking his golf scores and whatever. I'm sorry, dude. That dude knows how to build an SEC program. That dude knows how to build an SEC winner. That defense is as good as anybody in the SEC. Cam Coleman is, in my opinion, as good as any wide receiver in the country, not named Jeremiah Smith, and he's pretty darn close. Eric Singleton's a stud. And Jackson Arnold, while he wasn't great on Saturday, he's an improvement. Jeremiah Cobb is a great running back. The O-line, I think, will be better in every game. I think the only thing that sucks for Auburn is just the schedule is so tough, right? You have at Texas A&M this weekend. So shout out to the SEC, back-to-back road games to open SEC play. And then, oh, by the way, on top of that, you also have a bye, and then you get Georgia at home in the Deep South's oldest rivalry. So it doesn't get any easier for Oklahoma. You feel bad, but you got to give credit where it's due to Oklahoma. They win. But the counter to that is, man, oh, man, did the refs steal that game from Auburn? I think there's a little bit of a conversation that maybe they did.